What's your name?
My name is Nguyễn.
Okay, let's start with part one.
Okay.
Do you have a large family or a small family?
Well, from my perspective, I think my family is quite small now. Since there's only 3 people in the house. There used to be up to 5, but my grandmother passed away and my sister got married and she moved in with her husband. So there only me, and my parents. And actually, I don't plan on moving out. I'll stay and maybe reconstruct the house and take care of my parents.
Tell me something about your family.
Well, as we all know, parents play a very important role in everyone's heart. It's where everything begins. And to me, I really love my family, even though sometimes we have like disagreement and which led to arguments, but it's just normal for every average family. My mother very hardworking and she actually the main provider for all of us. Since my father used to help her, but he got into a serious accident, so he couldn't work hard labor anymore. And my sister is really smart. She graduated from her university with excellent point, and she's working with high salary and have a very happy family. And as myself, I'm a bit struggling with what I'm looking forward to do in the future, but I'm trying my best.
What sort of things do you like to do together?
Well, we don't usually gather together and have a family reunion much, since we're all so busy. But when we have a chance, we would mostly went on a trip and go to expensive restaurant and have a meal, a blast there. Where we always wait for my sister to come home and with her sons and her husband, so we all could go on a family trip together.
Are people in your country generally close to their families?
Well, from my point of view, I think we really valued families altogether, and actually imprinted deep in our blood. It's a disgrace for a child to disobey their parents. It's really that deep, and the society here also really discriminate against those who do not provide enough or love their child. So of course it creates quite controversy stuff, but I think generally most of them very close to their family and they held family to high values. Many people work or even get married just to provide for their family, especially their parents.
Do you get along well with your family?
Well, I think yes. My friends always tell me the story of not getting along with their family, especially their father, seeing some of them came from quite abusive situation. But for me, I think I'm more lucky than them. Both my parents, even my sister, love me dearly. So I also really love them. So I think our relationship is not perfect, but it's just really loving and care.
Okay, let's go to part 2. Okay, so you will have 1 minute to make notes and you speak for 2 minutes. Time starts now. Okay, 1 minute's up. You can start.
Well, I would like to talk about a very important things in our family. It may seem insignificant to others, but it's really it's like heart and soul of our whole generation. That is the photo album, the family photo album. It's actually really old and really tattered kind of book with like fading pictures of relatives and when they are young, and even my parents, especially when they are getting married. Some of them is hardly recognizable. You couldn't really see what really in the pictures or even recognize the face, not because they are too young and because I was born really late before them. I mean after them. It's because the quality is just ruined by times, and it also a black and white pictures which sees really old. The family range really far back in the past, around like before independent days. So a lot of things happen. My grandmother left it behind when she passed away. Actually, when she was alive, I used to play with her a lot, and she always showed me what each of the picture means, and each family trips and who is who when young, and she really loves talking about my father. And I was really young back then, but since she talked about it a lot, so I still remember to these days. It's mostly used to rewind or like think back to what old memories and stuff, just to have like sit back and relax and see how far we have come. And well, it's important since it's not just a family inheritance. It also shows what had been lost through generation. My family, especially my father's family, he used to be a wine producer. Like my grandmother make excellent wine, and the whole neighborhood loved it. So famous that everybody just and the business was going well. But since my father got into an accident, he couldn't do it anymore, so it sort of died in my generation. And I didn't know about it until I looked through the photo album again, and my mother told me about it, and even my father. She said that I don't have to like inherit it if I don't want to. It's something that has been lost, but not in memories. They will that photo albums held dearly what the achievement that everybody in my families has put together, and sometimes sadly some of the quality one have been lost, and many and some of them just go down and degenerate. And it's really, and when I look back, it just gives me a sense of dread. It's not just happiness, it's just dread, and even, but I'm very proud of it, and I would like to keep it as a keepsake, just like my mother old items.
Okay, that's fine. I'll stop you there. Let's go to part 3. What features distinguish modern day objects from ancient ones?
Well, in my opinion, I think there are many aspects in between this, distinguishing between the ancient one and the modern one. I think most of them is the usage. For example, the computer. The first ever created computer was actually huge. It takes up a whole room, and it's very complicated to use. But look at the computers nowadays, even the laptops. It's just so simple and easy to set up, and you can, it's much similar on the laptop, and you can even bring it everywhere. So as humans evolve and grow, as the technology developed, things got smaller and more similar to use, and it just it's not just for future generation at the idea of conveniency, also for the older generation where they cannot just operate complicated or hard thing anymore. The smaller and lighter things could also help them, and similar, so help them learn easier. And also not just the usage, but the idea of like how it should look like, the design and stuff. Many people might look back and say that some of the old items, even though they are still useful nowadays, it's just look unpleasant. It's just not really suit to the nowadays society. So and seeing it change to suit more to people's point of views, and so that it attract even more people to use the product.
What present-day items might be interesting to archaeologists in the future?
Well, from my point of view, I think I'll go with the arcs. It's always the arcs that it actually doesn't change much from ancient time to now. Arcs still play a very important role in human societies. It's just like a look back into history of what the artists want to tell, and what event happened, and what led to why such pieces are created. But nowadays, what's different is that it's modern art. The style has changed dramatically, and they don't. And although traditional art still have a very high value, we now have digital paintings. Using computer as a tool, just like paint and brushes, they still are arts. And I think in the future, people will still look back into those old art from maybe passed away artists, and they can learn new method and new meanings in each of them, and new ideas, and arts just from there will evolve even more.
Apart from keeping old objects, how else can we keep in touch with our past?
Well, there are plenty of ways to remember the past. I think one of them is taking pictures. Pictures who are going to stay with you forever. That's just the very purpose of taking a picture is to memorize it even longer. For example, one impactful event could stay in your brain for a very long time, but it's not detailed, and it fade away through time, seeing you just moved on from it. But when it captured in the pictures, like time's frozen on it, and just look back again, it will remind you, and even details that you haven't even noticed. And that another thing is that aside from keeping old object is written into words through old scroll with stuff or painting written on it. Just like writing something down, it's just like taking a picture. You wrote it down, what you see, or even a poem, through a poem or a novel. It's just to wrote back or that's just how history, as a subject, born through all these. I think many archaeologists learn history through not just old painting in the cave, it also through many old novel and poem of the author, how they describe or symbolized each event, and through old pictures as well.
How important is it for human beings to maintain their links with the past?
Well, it is really important to keep in touch with the past, and it's actually the foundation for the future. looking back into the past, you are like, there are things that you couldn't notice right away for the first time. You have to look back at it multiple times, and when you look back at it multiple times, you will start to notice that maybe what we have done is not very ethical, and we should change that. The most important thing is that not to make the same mistake twice. Do not let history repeating itself, especially those war, slavery, and discrimination. All of those things that have a really impactful impression in history. Looking back at the cruelties and the misinformation that people were led to back then is real. Without maintaining the strong links, we would never recognize it, and we would never grow as a society.
Okay, that's the end. Very good.
Yay.
I'll keep this one. You can take this one.